Hey guys, this is an unscripted kind of thing. This isn't like something too serious. It's kind of a. I needed something to post this week on YouTube kind of thing, so I thought I'd just kind of like talk about myself, talk about kind of things I've been feeling lately, kind of stuff. There's my Twitter if you want to go check that out. But yeah, I just kind of want to talk about like kind of where I started in content creation and kind of like my experiences and stuff. I'm not gonna get in detail. There's not gonna be like some hot juicy drama or anything. I'm not gonna drop names that are like problematic or anything. Um, Years ago, I think like 2016, 2017, maybe 2018. I can't remember exactly. I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh. So I started off with trying to like make Yu-Gi-Oh videos. I made like a really shitty like Smash Bros parody announcement video. I thought that would have been funny. But yeah, I was really into like wanting to make like Yu-Gi-Oh content and stuff. And then I started talking to like a lot of people that were also Yu-Gi-Oh content creators. I haven't spoken to them in a while, but I loved like their videos and stuff. And we were gonna work together on things. I even got advice from one of my favorites. Their name was Tenma on YouTube, but they have not posted in years. But I even used one of her deck lists. um it was fun. It was a fun time, but the problem was is like I couldn't make anything that I felt was like, good. Like, go figure, you gotta be good at a game to make good content on the game. But I did like do some really wacky things. I still have one Yu-Gi-Oh video and I made a few um not last, but like 2023 December, I think is when I did that. But I came back to content creation in the VTube community, and I started off in probably about in my first year. I started off in three different communities, and I'm only sort of active in one of them now, mostly because it's like those communities just aren't like making the content that I enjoy. The current okay, I popped out. Uh here. Fix that. There we go. It kicked me out because there's no one in there. Alright. But yeah, I kind of just was lost interest in the content. I'm still friends with a lot of people from those communities. The first one was Evanito's community. I'm still friends with a lot of people in there. I haven't talked to some of them, and occasionally like Evan will be like, "Hey, how you doing?" on when I pop in stream kind of thing. But I've been in his community for years. You could like call him my Oshi if you guys want. He's pretty cool. I like Evan. He still makes banger content. He's still a funny guy. He's still a nice guy. Um, I also was in Bug Bug's community for about a year, and then her she kind of was going hiatuses and kind of just stopped really doing a lot. And now she's like, I don't know if she's fully graduated or she's just on like a until further notice hiatus. But I haven't been in contact with Bug for a while. Um, and then I was in Alara's community for a while during the Smash days. That was really fun. Her content kind of went in a direction I'm not like too interested in, so I kind of stopped being as active in that community. I'm still friends. I think that's where I got most of my friends is Alara's community. Um, but yeah, those are like the communities I kind of like started in, and I slowly kind of left. Right now, like the communities I'm in is like I'm always in Trua's community. Trua and Nello are some of my best friends. I'm in Syrup Saturine's community for years. Syrup's pretty awesome. I love her to death. She's a BFF just like Trua and Nello. But something like I kind of learned in this community, and the more I get to know people, is like there's quote unquote blacklists. And a lot of people sit down and be like, oh my goodness, blacklists are awful. They're like, they're the bane of there's a reason for some of them. There are some people that'll sit down and be like, this person associates with this person, so therefore none of my friends can hang out with them. And it's like, I mean, that's their choice. Do I agree with it? Not really. I have a lot of friends that associate with people that I have on my personal blacklist. But the people on my personal blacklist are people that like, have I've seen with my own eyes like actively hurt or steal or like try to do awful things, or I've seen the evidence of. And it's like, the worst of the worst. But people who want to associate with them, I will look at them funny. Like, a lot of times I do look at some people funny when they know, like, what they did is awful. But that doesn't necessarily mean they themselves are bad people. There are some, but not all of them. But blacklists are a good thing in my opinion, and just about everyone's on some sort of blacklist in the streaming community in general or YouTube community. But that's kind of like people just go on Twitter and just kind of like get all uppity about it and get all angry, be like, I can't believe they're doing this, blah 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 blah. It's kind of eh. There's like better things to be upset about. Um, yeah, there's just a lot of things to be upset about, and there's a lot of people that are upset for valid reasons too. You have like the validity to go on Twitter and be upset about whatever, but not everyone's going to agree with it, and that's something that some people don't fully grasp. Is like, why don't people like accept that my take is like complete and all knowing, blah blah blah, but not everyone is like that. I think like kind of the bottom line for everything is like just not everyone is a piece of shit and believes in absolutes. There's I'm friends with people that like were in the hot seat for a while on Twitter. There's like sometimes it's like I can see why they got in the hot seat. Sometimes it's kind of like, why were they in the hot seat? But there's also like just some things where it's like, well, this is just a disaster. It really is. It's like anything that happens on Twitter is a disaster. I feel like if you feel like there's something you should speak out on, I think you should. I feel like you should have the ability to have your voice heard. It doesn't necessarily mean that like everything you do is just. It just means that you have the ability to voice your opinion. If it's a shit opinion, it's a shit opinion, but not everyone thinks that way. Something else is clicks. People talk about clicks a lot. I've heard like people get upset about clicks. There's some upsides and downsides to that, in my opinion. I feel like if you got a click, I think like the term click is kind of misrepresented because there's a lot of people that just have like a group of friends that they just spend time with and don't really deviate from that. And some people are like, oh, they got that click. And it's like, I don't know about that. I think that's kind of a loosely used term. That's just someone who has like a group of friends and they just want to stay with their group of friends. But there are some people that are like, if you want to stay in this group, you have to obey these like things like don't mess with that person over there. That's a common thing. That's a bad thing. That kind of sucks. You should think for yourself. But there are like some upsides and downsides to having these quote unquote groups, these closed groups. These closed groups, you have these like people that you can confide in and stuff. But the downside is what if like it starts to fall apart, whether it be like oh, some drama happened between everyone, or maybe some people are just kind of like going off and doing their own thing and kind of like life stuff happens. I kind of feel like that's one of the downsides with these like groups or quote unquote cliques people talk about, because it leaves you kind of all alone and you have to like find a new kind of place to settle down and hang out in. And I know it because I've been in these kind of like more kind of settled down groups that kind of fall apart. But at the same time, I've kind of always been on the drifting kind of side of things, where it's like I'm in like 20 different like friend groups. And I've had like issues where some people are like upset because I'm not upset with somebody, and I'm just like I'm not gonna sit here and like listen to you talk shit about my friend just because you had like a minor inconvenience because they existed of some sort. And that really comes down to that, kind of branch off a bit and talk to people. Is there like really kind of like a moral to this video or anything? I don't know. Take what you will. I'm really just rambling into a microphone just so I can have my weekly upload. And I thought I would take the time to kind of talk about myself, kind of where I've originated, what I've kind of done. Whether you feel like I did or not, that's up to you. I don't really care. But yeah, drop a like, subscribe, whatever. Do what you want. I don't care. I don't really give a fuck. Yeah. Alright. Talk to you later. Bye.